What's up guys, Will here, and today I got a brand new video for you. Today we're going to ask the question of whether it's worth it to upgrade your old computer or build a new one outright. As technology goes, new CPUs and graphics cards are being released every year, and the games and applications that we use daily are becoming more demanding as the technology increases. So we're going to be running some benchmarks from old to new and hopefully come to a conclusion at the end. So without further ado, roll that terrible B-roll.
Alrighty guys, for these benchmarks we're going to be using the 2012 build that I'll be referring to as Old Faithful. It sports an i5-3570K which runs at 3.4 gigahertz. It's a 4th generation Ivy Bridge processor, really good for its time. It's running on a Z77 motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 680, which was a beast in its day. With this old build, I'm simply just going to toss the GTX 1070 to see how it compares. It's going against the 2012 or 2016 build, Big Red, which is rocking a 6th generation Skylake i5-6600K, 3.5 gigahertz processor, but I overclocked it to 4.1 gigahertz, running on a MSI Z178 motherboard. It also has 32 gigs of RAM, and for this video, I'm taking out the 1080 that's in it, or usually in it, and putting in the GTX 1070 in for comparison. Just for a rundown, I went back and looked at the pricing for the machines, and we see here the newest build with the 1070 came out to $1,610, while my build in 2012 was relatively the same, running out at $1,631. So basically, comparing apples to apples. Also, I included the total cost of what it comes to say if I just upgraded Old Faithful with a 1070. The specs of both builds are very similar for their times. So the question is, do I gain enough performance that warranted me building the new gaming rig? Let's take a look at the benchmarks. So, taking a look at Unigine Heaven, I benchmarked both rigs with the GTX 1070 as well as including the GTX 680 for comparison of how big of the upgrade the GTX 1070 is compared to it. Now looking at the results, this is a little concerning, and it appears I gained no benefit with the new build. The GTX 1070 alone has put me up to par, and even in this case showing a little bit better than the new build. Now let's not pay attention too much to the slim FPS and score differences, as these tests could be run over and over, and depending on the background processes and temperature we would see different results of 1 to 2 FPS. What we can take away from this benchmark is that both builds are performing pretty much identical. Let's move on to the DX12 benchmark Time Spy. Now looking at it again, the FPS and the GPU scores look identical, confirming what we saw in the Unigine benchmark. As of right now, I'm wondering, did I really just waste my money on this new Skylake build? So far it looks like it, as I could have just bought the GTX 1070 and been done with it. But wait, cue that dramatic music. What does the CPU score show? Big Red steps out of the shadow and crushes the 2012 build. This is due to DX12 being new and Skylake processors being optimized for DX12 over the 2012 build components. So now I'm feeling a little bit better, but not quite convinced on it being money well spent. Moving on to Firestrike Extreme, again we are seeing basically identical results for FPS. Same thing we've been seeing this entire video. But this test also has a physics component to which it taxes the CPU as it runs 32 parallel simulations of soft and rigid body physics on the CPU. And as we can see here, the 6600K in Big Red performs a great deal better than the 2012 build. Right now I'm feeling a little less on the fence about spending the money on the new build, as we can see a big increase in performance as the CPU looks like it's actually pulling its weight. On to Witcher 3, which is known to be both a GPU and CPU taxing game. We are running on Ultra preset with Hairworks on. And thankfully we can finally see some large FPS jumps in Big Red when running at 1080p and 1440p in a 16:9 aspect ratio. It flattens out at 3440 by 1440, which I can't really explain, but I'm going to guess that it's due to the resolution being a 21:9 aspect ratio.
As we can see, upgrading your graphics card in your old computer can definitely give you a big FPS jump in games. So whether do I feel like I wasted my money on the new build? Not necessarily. I do wish that I would have went with the i7 6700K, which is again a quad core but also has hyper-threading, so you get the 8 logical cores. I definitely think that would have gave me a boost in gaming. Not as much as I would have seen in applications such as video editing software, but still, it's a better processor all around. I was kind of surprised in seeing the lack of difference between the 2012 build and 2016 build, but it's kind of what I want to do these videos about. So you're seeing the differences and if it's worth it. Hopefully the information was relevant and it helped you in your decision on whether to buy one or upgrade your computer. But I think that's going to be it for me today. In this video. If you enjoyed the video and found it informational, please hit that like button. If you're interested in more videos like this, hit the subscribe. Next week's video is most likely going to be the review on the NVIDIA Shield. I'm pretty excited with this thing. I'm glad they are including the controller and the remote. I think it is actually the same specs as the old one, just in a different form factor. But from what I understand, the software was upgraded and can do a lot more stuff. So be on the lookout for that video. Again, that's it for me, and I'll see you guys on the next one.